So another year, another beloved movie remade to meh applause. We all seen the different movies that got remade. Some good, some bad, and some you just want to milk for all that they are worth and keep milking till the end of time. Yeah, I will be going over these at some point, but today you want The Crow. I would put it in more under reimagining, and sometimes they can be welcome change of pace. Problem comes when they are taking the good movies of the past and tries to replicate them to poor results. The Crow is a special case, both in cultural impact it had and the fact that this was an actor's last film. Those are two things that are tough enough to handle separately, but together, well, now it's near impossible. Well, might as well jump into it. Let's cover our bases. The Crow is based off a graphic novel of the same name. James O'Barr created The Crow out of grief over his sister dying to a drunk driver. These stories I do like to hear because anyone can rage at the world and react more cynical and angry at the world. It does take skill, talent, and heart to turn that into art. And this being gothic as hell graphic novel, appropriate for the main character Eric to be into something artsy. 94 Crow was in a band, 24 Crow into poetry and tattoos. And they are both drawn to comedy and tragedy mask. Both versions deal with the death of a wife and a lover, Shelley Webster, and because of all the pain and tragedy from said death, this causes Eric to come back to life in a new form as the Crow. And that is about as much as that they have in common. Their stories follow different paths and different results. The structure is different, and some characters are swapped, even the ending is different. I think we will start with the story, since that is what the movies are stuck with and can't be overlooked. 94 Crow starts the story out with both characters dying in the beginning, leaving only the sister and Ernie to console each other. A year later, Eric rises from the grave and pieces together what happened. That's 94 Crow. What does 24 Crow do? Well, something that on paper sounds like the logical choice. You start off with Shelley and her friend planning on leaving the city to get away from this immortal demon and to hide something away that will play a role later. Her friend gets nabbed, and you see the threat that they face and the motivation for Rogue. Shelley is being followed and in clever fashion runs into cops and gets arrested to avoid him. We go to the rehab center where the two meet up and connect instantly. Some hijinks later, they are escaping the center and hiding out in some loft of one of her rich friends. All seems well as you see the relationship blossom. I will give credit to this one that they want to at least establish the characters before things go sideways, which they do. Eric dies and instead of being buried, goes to a spiritual rail yard that he starts being told what happened. He could be reunited with her if he kills Rogue. 94 Crow comes back and stumbles around for a little bit where he and Shelley died and remembers all the good times, quickly discovers his healing factor, then starts hunting for the people who did this. This one, even though there is a supernatural power, he does assemble his costume relatively early, making additions to it as time goes on. As the movie goes on, we see colorful characters from Tintin to Funboy. Each I can actually remember beyond appearance. They mention something called Devil's Night, which I guess explains the opening shot where everything is on fire. The Crow finds Tintin and exacts his revenge, usually in an ironic way. 24 Crow does things a little out of order. He wakes up only a little after being killed and kills the guy that killed him. He then visits Shelley's mother, where he learns Shelley was given to Rogue in exchange for money. Eric gears up to start taking down the goons. After a car chase, Eric finds the video that Shelley was hiding away and sees that Rogue used his powers to make her kill someone else. Another change is the weakness or vulnerability of his powers. 24 Crow's weakness is if his love for Shelley falters, no more healing. Where 94 Crow's weakness is literally just shoot the crow.
Bye-bye, Birdie.
24 Crow dies twice, so shame on him. Since he failed, no more deal. But Eric counters the deal with alternate deal. Let me take her place instead in hell. His love for her is he just wants her to be happy and live, even if he can't. So one more deal, and this time we got the supernatural costume. Bleeding black eyeliner, pale white skin, nice little smile. He is now in full makeup and ready for a rampage. 94 Crow between sunset sessions and learning from Ernie what happened. Admittedly, the reason for the murder is weak. Fighting tenant evictions and the boss not liking it, and sending his goons in as Devil Night is going on, versus evil demon wanting your soul sounds a lot more mythical. Anyway, after killing the fourth killer, plus friends and associates, these three want the power of the Crow and try to take it, using the sister as leverage. Eventually, after some shots and deaths, the sister and Ernie survive the night, and Eric can finally be at peace with Shelley. 24 Crow has been a snooze fest, but finally starts to get to the good part of the opera house. They drag the scene appropriately on, cutting between the stage play and the murdering. They even decided to make the blood black. For one, it looks cool, and two, kinda adds meaning to all those tattoos you've seen throughout. Eventually ending with him finding Rogue's location. In an artistic bow, they fight throughout the railway dimension, and Eric wins. We time travel back to the time of the death, and Shelley lives, Kronos fills her in on what happened, and Eric accepts his fate, hoping maybe they will meet again in the next life. So did the new Crow manage to match the 1994 Crow in cultural impact? No, not really. The original Crow had a few things working for it. The first is style and characters. Nearly every character has an identity that stuck with you and wanted to see more of. The city also was something out of a graphic novel and had its own identity. Yeah, at times it looked like a set, but between the environment and people, you got what probably kicked off the 90s grunge era. And with the gothic story, it was lightning in a bottle type movie. Also, the soundtrack is on par with the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack from movie soundtracks. The 24 Crow, however, other than the Opera House action scene, no environment really stuck out. It honestly reminds me of the fast food restaurants, specifically how before they all had some kind of personality, like the 94 Crow, but now are all just bland Starbucks knockoffs. The characters aren't really as memorable other than the main characters. I will say that it was nice to get a little development on the relationship as opposed to the 94 that mainly just did flashbacks, and Shelley got a lot more character in this one. Yeah, they did end up in the refrigerator, but at least Shelley got 30 minutes on screen. But now we come to the biggest character and elephant in the room, the Crow itself. In the filmmaking world, the Crow is kinda cursed, even in 94. Started with injuries on set to crew members, and sets getting ruined or destroyed because of the weather for the ice storm that year. But that brings us to the reason this is remembered. This was Brandon Lee's last film, because he died on set from a gun that was improperly loaded. From internet archives, people think it was this scene, but it was actually this scene. According to the actor Funboy's account, he was supposed to fire, and Brandon stumbles back. Well, he fired, and Brandon went down, and people thought he was joking, until the pool of blood started to show. Eerily, like in the movie with Shelley, went into surgery but never came out. They had most of the shots over and done with. They did need to pull off Carrie Fisher CGI magic to get some shots that Brandon couldn't do, from obscuring the face and CGI imposing his face onto a stunt double. Luckily this was goth, everything is black, and always in the rain. The new 2024 Crow was also plagued with more televised problems, from constantly switching directors and actors, to the pandemic and strike delays, and to the Rust shooting happening nearly 30 years since Brandon Lee tragically passed. But the actors themselves, how did they do? For Brandon, he does manage to bring that goth aesthetic to it, still being tragic but also like the makeup. He's always trying to make the others smile. You see, he used the painted mask to hide his pain, his anger. Honestly, between the time it came out and the aesthetic, he's basically like a male version of Death, even down to the makeup choice. Bill Skarsgård, having some idea of how to be a scary clown, does manage to be dark and introspective in the beginning, and ironically, when the mask comes on, he goes off on everybody. His powers also being directly connected to his feelings for Shelley, I like because at the very least, it doesn't become a video game where you have to attack the bird to beat the bad guy, or good guy in this case. So even though they did improve on some of the flaws from the 94 Crow, and they didn't do it dirty by directly insulting the original, I still like the 1994 Crow. 2024 Crow was always going to be an uphill battle, no matter where you stood. I agree with Good Bad Flicks that The Crow, with its influence to grunge and Brandon Lee's last film, this is one movie that shouldn't be remade, reimagined, or restarted. And from the user scores, and everyone agrees that The Crow should be allowed to rest. Also, while writing this was pulled to about 3 weeks after, so you have your answer. With Hollywood in shambles right now, from AI replacing everything to streaming services trying to own everything, the only good I could see coming from this is remaking bad movies. Since established IPs aren't making the big bucks anymore, and even with IP will still get cancelled, might as well risk it. At least try something new that won't end up in the DVD landfill. But that is unlikely. But like The Crow, death is only temporary, and will rise again one day. So yeah, while writing this, the movie actually got pulled, so hey, maybe they are learning. Or trying to hoard every dollar. Anyway, you know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see reviewed next time. Bye!